His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa chaired the weekly cabinet meeting at Ghdibiyya Palace in the presence of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa. His Majesty welcomed his brothers, their Majesties and their Highnesses, the leaders of the Arab countries, to the 33rd Arab Summit, which will be hosted by the Kingdom on Thursday. Chaired by His Majesty the King, His Majesty wished the summit success in coming up with positive results and decisions that enhance Arab integration and unity, developing the nation's capabilities and political and economic potentials, protecting its national security, meeting its aspirations on the path of progress and sustainable development, and supporting peace, security, and stability in the region. His Majesty expressed the importance of this blessed meeting in the Kingdom, especially at this critical stage in regards to what the region is witnessing that requires continuous consultation and coordination in order to unify stances and overcome these challenges to serve Arab causes. The Cabinet discussed the preparations to host the summit, where His Majesty expressed thanks and appreciation to the efforts being exerted from the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all concerned parties in the spirit of Team Bahrain in organizing the summit, ensuring its success and providing all facilitation for the country's guests. His Majesty expressed pride in the efforts of the people of Bahrain that aim to reach the best levels in all fields, who achieved success stories in various events, which reflects their loyalty to the homeland that motivates them to make further accomplishments. His Majesty affirmed that the situation in Gaza calls for extensive diplomatic efforts regionally and internationally in order to achieve peace, establish a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. He also stressed the importance of decreasing tensions in the Middle East, avoiding military escalation, and the importance of enhancing Arab international cooperation to reach peaceful, comprehensive, sustainable, and just solutions for the conflicts in the region. His Majesty praised the Kingdom's pluralism, civilized approach, and the one spirit that brings together its diverse and cohesive social fabric, affirming that the Kingdom will continue its humanitarian approach in enhancing the values of tolerance and coexistence to always remain an oasis of peace, security, and prosperity. His Majesty also stressed the importance of continuing the implementation of major development projects that supports economic growth and provides qualitative opportunities for the Bahrainis. He praised the efforts of His Royal Highness in this regard and his leadership of the government work that contributes to enhancing the comprehensive development march of the Kingdom that is full of achievements in all fields. His Majesty affirmed the importance of the cooperation between the executive and legislative authorities for the benefit of the country and its people in various fields to achieve the goals of the comprehensive development march, affirming that the Bahraini citizen is the main element for the development process. His Majesty directed to continue the development march in all fields and to continue adopting initiatives that maintain the environment, enhance food security, and supports local production. The Council then welcomed the decision of the United Nations General Assembly with a majority of 143 states regarding the eligibility of Palestine to obtain full membership in the UN, and its recommendation to the Security Council to reconsider this issue positively, while granting Palestine additional rights and privileges related to its participation in the international organization. It praised the efforts of the Arab group chaired by the UAE in presenting this decision and approved it during the 10th Emergency Special Session of the UNGA. His Royal Highness then expressed thanks and gratitude for His Majesty's appreciation of the efforts of Team Bahrain, affirming that the royal appreciation is a source of pride and motivates to continue the efforts to implement the aspirations of His Majesty the King. His Royal Highness affirmed the ministries and government bodies' keenness to ensure the success of the Arab Summit and affirmed that the government is always honored to implement the directives of His Majesty the King in a way that enhances the status of the Kingdom and strengthens joint Arab action. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received the Secretary General of the Arab League, Ahmed Abul Ghait, to greet His Majesty upon his visit to the Kingdom to participate in the 33rd Arab Summit hosted by Bahrain on Thursday. At the beginning of the meeting, the Secretary General briefed His Majesty the King on the ongoing final preparations for hosting the summit and the topics on the agenda, as well as all preparations to ensure its success. His Majesty welcomed the Secretary General, expressing thanks and appreciation for his efforts and those of the affiliates of the General Secretariat in cooperating and coordinating with relevant authorities in the Kingdom to prepare for the Arab Summit and provide all means for its success to achieve the desired goals. His Majesty expressed pride in Bahrain's hosting of the historic summit, which gains a special importance in light of the exceptional circumstances and challenges in the region as a result of the rapid developments. He wished the Arab leaders success in the summit and to serve Arab causes, protect the interests and gains of Arab countries, achieve the aspirations of their people for development and prosperity, and support endeavors towards security and stability in the region. His Majesty affirmed Bahrain's support to all the efforts of the Arab League, which stems from its effective role in enhancing joint Arab action system, maintaining unity, and enhancing solidarity, asserting Bahrain's support to all Arab initiatives and efforts for the interests of the Arab nation, its unity, and its security and stability. The Secretary General expressed thanks and appreciation to His Majesty the King for Bahrain's efforts in organizing and preparing for the summit and providing all potentialities for its success. He hailed the support of Bahrain under His Majesty's leadership to the Arab League and its honorable stances in supporting the nation's causes and defending its interests. The two sides also discussed the events on the Arab arena and the regional and international developments. His Majesty the King then inspected the summit's facilities and facilitations provided for the guests and instructed the organizers to coordinate efforts for the success of the summit at all levels. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, in the presence of the Ambassador to the UAE to Bahrain, Fahad Mohammed Sana bin Kurdus Al Amri, met with the members of the UAE balloon team led by Captain Pilot Abdulaziz Nasser Al Mansouri at Ghdaybiya Palace. His Royal Highness highlighted the depth of the Bahrain-UAE relations, which have witnessed increased multi-sectoral collaboration in line with the ongoing support of both His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the UAE President His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. His Royal Highness emphasized his pride in various initiatives led by Arab countries that enhance joint Arab efforts and cooperation and furthers the values of belonging and loyalty amongst Arab countries. He was briefed on the details of the Arab Balloon Initiative, which will include a flight across Arab and regional countries carrying the flags of all Arab countries. His Royal Highness recognized the various initiatives led by the Emirati people that further bolster Gulf and Arab cooperation. He noted the UAE balloon team's efforts and wished them success in their future endeavors. Captain Pilot Al Mansouri expressed his gratitude for His Royal Highness's support of initiatives that contribute to Gulf and Arab collaboration. He noted His Royal Highness's support for the UAE's balloon team and the Arab Balloon Initiative, wishing the Kingdom of Bahrain further progress and prosperity. The First Deputy Chairman of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports, Chairman of the General Sports Authority and President of Bahrain Olympic Committee, His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the Minister of Finance and National Economy, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, also attended the meeting. The Institute of Judicial and Legal Studies held the closing ceremony of the Basic Training Program for the Professional Certificate to Practice Law in the English Language, PLPC, in its third edition, in the presence of the Deputy President of the Supreme Judicial Council and President of the Court of Cassation, Sheikh Khalid bin Ali bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, the Attorney General, Dr. Ali bin Fadl Bayanin, and the Minister of Justice, Islamic Affairs and Waqf, Nawaf Al Mauda. The Minister of Justice stressed the importance of this training program due to the distinguished training content it contains, which aims to develop basic practical skills in a way that meets the requirements of the labor market. He stressed the importance of such training programs to keep pace with modern developments and legislative and legal innovations. 22 law graduate trainees passed the program after fulfilling the admission requirements and passing all assessments during a period of 6 months, which included 15 scientific subjects that dealt with various legal topics. The Legislative Authority held a joint meeting with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdul Latif Al-Zayani, to review Bahrain's preparations to host the 33rd Arab Summit. The Speaker of the Representatives Council, Ahmed Al-Msallam, stressed the importance of continuing bilateral meetings, which come within the framework of the common interest and constructive cooperation between the executive and legislative authorities in implementation of the directives of His Majesty the King, with the support of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister. He noted the legislative authority's keenness on supporting the outcomes of the Arab Summit in Arab and international parliamentary forums, and to highlight Bahrain's efforts in spreading and consolidating the culture of tolerance and coexistence and just and comprehensive peace, and emphasizing that security is the basis of development. The chairman of the Shura Council, Ali Saleh, affirmed that Bahrain records Arab stances and initiatives in support of the sustainable growth and progress of the Arab countries in a manner that consolidates the common characteristics between brotherly countries, expressing pride in Bahrain's hosting of the Arab Summit. He praised the diplomatic efforts made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and his endeavors with all concerned parties and institutions, stressing that the integration of roles between all institutions will contribute to the success of the summit. The Minister of Foreign Affairs affirmed Bahrain's pride, led by His Majesty the King, with the support of His Royal Highness in hosting the 33rd Arab Summit. He stated that Bahrain has completed its preparations to host Arab leaders and Bahrain's guests, praising the dedicated efforts made by the Supreme Committee, chaired by the Minister of Interior General Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, in this regard. The Representatives Council Speaker Ahmed Al-Msallam received the Secretary General of the Arab League, Ahmed Abul Ghait. The Secretary General hailed His Majesty the King's keenness to support joint Arab action, affirming that the Bahrain Summit gains great importance due to its timing, as the Arab region faces unprecedented challenges, most notably the continued military escalation in Gaza and the worsening humanitarian and political situation in a number of countries in the region. Al-Msallam expressed thanks and appreciation to the Secretary General for supporting joint Arab action and appreciated the efforts of the General Committee to prepare for the summit and the cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Interior, and all concerned parties in Bahrain. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs Under Secretary for Political Affairs Sheikh Dr. Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Khalifa chaired the meeting of the Arab General Delegates and senior officials ahead of the preparatory meeting of Arab Foreign Ministers for the 33rd Bahrain Arab Summit in the presence of the Assistant Secretary General of the Arab League and Head of the Office of the Secretary General Ambassador Hussam Zeki and a number of officials in the General Secretariat. In his speech, Dr. Sheikh Abdullah noted that holding the summit coincides with the Kingdom's celebration of the Silver Jubilee of His Majesty's accession to the throne. He explained that the summit is being held at the exceptionally critical time, given the scale of the challenges facing the Arab world, and reviewed the painful humanitarian conditions in Gaza and the attempts to undermine the pillars of the national state and its legitimate institutions, in addition to the danger of armed militias. The Undersecretary affirmed that Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, with the follow of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, supports just Arab causes and never hesitated to carry out its national obligations and call for unity and solidarity. He stressed that the Palestinian cause is the core of the conflicts in the Middle East and the first central issue, expressing aspiration to immediately stop the war on Gaza and to achieve the aspirations of the Palestinian people of obtaining their legitimate rights and establishing their independent state. Sheikh Abdullah affirmed that the Bahrain Summit is a message of peace, solidarity, hope and optimism for the Arab people who wait for concrete decisions to unify joint efforts, overcome existing challenges and stop external interference in the internal affairs of Arab countries. He called for investing in the outcomes of the summit to comprehensively renew the Arab system and open new paths for Arab integration that link peace and development and build partnerships. He stressed Bahrain's support of efforts aimed at protecting constants and enhancing achievements. For his part, Ambassador Zeki hailed Bahrain's hosting of the summit and noted that it provided all facilities to the General Secretariat and the participating delegations to serve joint Arab action. He expressed satisfaction with the Arab consensus on the draft agenda, expecting that the summit will produce positive decisions and unified positions regarding Arab issues and challenges. The Kingdom of Bahrain has completed its preparations to host the 33rd Arab Summit to be held on Thursday, presided over by His Majesty the King. The Kingdom's streets, highways and landmarks are decorated with flags of Arab countries and portraits of their leaders, reflecting Arab unity and solidarity and celebrating Bahrain's hosting of this historic summit. Bahrain's hosting of the Arab Summit earned vast recognition across the Arab world and appreciation of the Kingdom's approach to supporting peace and stability and enhancing joint Arab action. The Kingdom of Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, affirms its ability to lead joint Arab action based on its authentic Arab nationalism, its permanent commitment to various just Arab causes, and its keenness to preserve Arab rights. More in this report. Based on its well-established principles, the Kingdom of Bahrain continues its active role in promoting joint Arab action in various fields and at all levels. The kingdom, under the leadership of His Majesty the King, has spared no effort in achieving the desired goals, meeting the aspirations of the Arab nation, and defending their issues. Bahrain was and still a true supporter for every joint effort that is in the interest of brotherly countries and peoples within the framework of the Arab League, as it is the unifying base that embodies the unity of the Arab nation. One of the aspects of Arab action, most notably the Arab summits, in which the kingdom is always keen to actively participate in, His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa chaired the 15th session of the Arab League Council meeting at the summit level, which was held in the city of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, during which His Majesty stressed the importance of peace and constructive dialogue in resolving the conflicts that the region experienced. That meeting was held at an important stage in accordance with specific agendas and several files that took into account confronting various challenges, in addition to continuing to build on the gains that have been achieved and working to improve the Arab action system, especially in the security, economic and social fields, through adherence to peace as a global and strategic choice. During the period of its presidency of various Arab committees, the Kingdom of Bahrain worked hard to achieve the goals approved by the summit by following the paths of progress in deepening integration and strengthening the bonds of cooperation, in facing all challenges and supporting Arab rights, especially the Palestinian cause, in order to establish peace, security and prosperity in the region and achieving development for its peoples. Prominent evidence of the approach of the Kingdom of Bahrain, led by His Majesty the King, in support of all endeavors aimed at strengthening cooperation and solidarity among Arab countries, unifying ranks, and strengthening relations between brothers. The Kingdom is preparing to host the meeting of the Arab Summit in its 33rd edition, in confirmation of the Kingdom's keenness to enhance unity and cooperation towards various issues and challenges. The Deputy Prime Minister for International Relations and Cooperation Affairs and Special Representative of His Majesty the Sultan of Oman, His Highness As'ad bin Tariq bin Taymur, received the Speaker of the Arab Parliament, Adil Assoumi. His Highness praised Bahrain's hosting of the 33rd Arab Summit, headed by His Majesty the King, expressing his confidence in His Majesty's capabilities to make this important summit a success, which is being held under exceptional circumstances and unprecedented challenges facing the region and the Arab nation. Al-Assoumi appreciated the tireless efforts made by His Majesty the King in supporting and strengthening joint Arab action and his keenness to preserve the security of the region. He expressed the Arab Parliament's support for all the outcomes of the 33rd Arab Summit. The Bahrain Bourse, in cooperation with Injaz Bahrain, organized the closing ceremony of the Smart Investor Program 2023-2024 in the presence of the Chairman of the Board of Directors of Injaz Bahrain, Her Highness Sheikha Hassa bint Khalifa Al Khalifa, and the CEO of the Bahrain Bourse, Sheikh Khalifa bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa. On this occasion, Her Highness Sheikha Hassa said that Injaz Bahrain is committed to providing young minds with the knowledge and tools necessary to achieve success in the future, and cooperating with the Bahrain Bourse in presenting the Smart Investor Program allows to spread financial culture. The Smart Investor Program is one of the programs that supports the tireless efforts made by Bahrain Bourse to instill the concepts of saving and investing at an early age. The CEO of the Information and E-Government Authority, Mohammed Al-Qaid, paid an inspection field visit to the research team and a number of families participating in the implementation of the 2024 Household Income and Expenditure Survey in Muharraq Governorate. More in this report.
Within the framework of developing government, economic and social plans and programs in the interest of Bahraini citizens and families, the Household Income and Expenditure Survey for the year 2024 aims to study household spendings and the most goods and services consumed by families. The survey was implemented on the foundations and standards of scientific research as it aims to collect data from a random sample of approximately 6,000 families who were keen to provide comprehensive and accurate data to researchers about income and spending patterns, and about 35 field researchers participated. The survey is a scientific approach through which the Information and E-Government Authority aspires to contribute to securing an accurate database on citizens and residents' families, enabling decision makers and officials in the kingdom to formulate policies, develop plans and programs, and make decisions that support the nation's development and provide innovative services in line with the needs and requirements of families and create a better life for the people of Bahrain.